end the opposition wave and to close the chain of the opposition empire the opposition reply speaker.
And welcome back to Reply Speech Arena. Now, the government today has been very assumptions. They are assuming that when they give this nuclear power to Iran, that Iran's hatred toward USA will definitely disappear. Secondly, they are assuming that since in the past, nobody has ever launched a nuclear bomb before, no one will launch a nuclear bomb. And lastly, they are assuming that by fulfilling the request of Iran to have this nuclear bomb, you will actually cause other people to say, hey, it's okay, since another power have another right, everybody's right will be okay. Now, what we question today is, when you give Iran, when you support Iran to actually have this nuclear weapons, firstly, we said the capability. They say, and UNSC is being hypocrite because we're giving just a few countries to actually have this nuclear weapons. But why? We can see that firstly, they have the capability, they have the money. They still question us. We don't care. They say we don't care about whether they have the capability or not because they want it. But you're not being humane. Think about what Iran is facing. They can't even destroy the poverty that they have in their own country. You could destroy their nation, not thinking about what their people are actually going to face if you allow them to use the money, that they could help the nation to actually have these nuclear weapons. Because as we know, nuclear costs a lot of money. Now, secondly, we question their mechanism that okay, if they want to attack anyone, UNSC will have a say to it. Firstly, they will definitely UNSC will say no, and secondly, they will attack without noticing this UNSC, and they're assuming that UNSC will have time to actually react. But when UNSC did not have time to react, they didn't bomb the center on time, and other countries are affected by this. The other country is being destroyed because why? That bomb is already launched, and now you're going to say sorry, and then you want to find a cure for it, which already caused a chaotic situation. Why we say chaotic situation? Like we say, if your country, for example, if our country Malaysia was attacked, will we stand still and not attack back? We will attack back, and that's how we see that it will actually cause another war, another huge war, conflict, because this is involving the Middle East and the West world, West countries here. I'm sorry. And then the question about the nuclear summit. Well, okay, fine. France did not actually agree to fully destroy the nuclear program or fully drop their weapons on nuclear. But if you give Iran the right of power to actually have this nuclear weapon, do you think France would actually say, oh, well, not just France, but any other country will say, hey, if they can have the right to actually have the nuclear weapons, we want it as well, we want to defend ourselves as well. So it will cause another chaotic conflicts in a diplomatic way to the countries we have now. I'm sorry. Now, then we say about rights. If you really want to fulfill the rights of people who want this, who feel that it is unfair that only certain countries actually have this nuclear weapon, I see this. Instead of actually giving only Iran, supporting Iran to have this nuclear weapon and causing other people to feel more unfair, take away the nuclear power altogether. Now, again, I said again, why we give this veto, these countries, United States, France, and all of these huge countries to actually have nuclear energy? Firstly, they have interests. They have their own interests that they need to protect. And when they need to protect this, they won't make a very stupid choice. And they don't have any intentions. They don't have anyone that is actually in their way to be successful. Because why? They're one of the countries that are on top of the world. They have no motives or they have no objective in attacking another country. Whereas Iran, they have clearly declared that they don't like USA. And by just giving them this nuclear weapons, they won't actually say, okay, fine, now we're friends. The thing is, when they get this weapon, they will see it as a chance for them to attack the United States. Not necessarily with their assumption that they're going to say, okay, it's okay, we already have the power, now we're together, now we're friends, now we're on the same level. No. So that's why we on the government today say that this motion should simply fall because it is not the right thing to do. With that, I'd like to oppose.
by the government reply speaker.
Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that there's a new argument given by the reply speaker due to the fact that they said that there's been interest of US and there's not interest of Iran. However, let us analyze step by step, ladies and gentlemen. I felt pity for the whole team because initially the first and second speaker didn't really engage to the side of the government, and I think that there have been too many arguments that we told you 10 things in this debate today, ladies and gentlemen, that even the third speaker didn't really can engage in our arguments, ladies and gentlemen. But never mind, I'm going to show you how the real clash has been. First of all, we have the nuclear summit, ladies and gentlemen, the valuation of UNSC. You see, the government simply said that if you did not eliminate your nuclear weapons, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot stop the right of others to obtain nuclear weapons, ladies and gentlemen. This is when the hypocrisy comes in. When you have nuclear weapons there, when the nuclear summit didn't manage to successfully reduce all nuclear weapons, which means eliminate all, you should not do this, ladies and gentlemen, which reflects the hypocrisy. And they talk about World War III, I think we talk about past record, how that nobody is using it, and we have given justification of why Iran would use it simply because it is a regime suicide, ladies and gentlemen. We have told the US got nuclear weapons, that told you that Israel has nuclear weapons, and most important of all, according to our proposal, that we have already told you that if you are going to launch a nuclear weapon, ladies and gentlemen, the UNSC is going to take an action to bomb your nuclear facility and eventually bomb it, and then there goes your nuclear weapon and the spot of the facility, ladies and gentlemen. We are running this in a principal case. Therefore, we think that even though our proposal seems quite logical, that we are going to ensure that the United States of America is going to bomb the facility on time. So what we've told today, we've told you about the proposal, we've told you about the resolution of UNSC, that nobody should use this bomb under any circumstances, that we have changed the perspective of why we should actually acquire nuclear weapons due to the recognition of power. We have told you about how is it diplomacy is not working, they didn't engage on that. We have told you about the hypocrisy of UNSC. We have told you about past record that nobody is using it, even though North Korea actually acquired nuclear weapons, and we have told you how is it that the MBT is not working because due to the fact that North Korea was once a member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty and they managed to get it, and although the relationship between North Korea and the West is quite hostile, there's no imminent threat. We have told you about the balance of power between Israel and Iran in the Middle East. We have told you about the recognition in the international community of how it is that these countries have nuclear weapons actually that they have a voice in the political arena. We have told you about the political system of Iran, which means that it is not all to the president to say that I'm going to launch a bomb, there you go. You have to go through all these councils and councils to 86 members of all these councils in Germany, who is on the whole of the police, of the force, of all these mighty, of the international security, of the whole national security in Germany. We have told you how is it that why Iran won't use the bomb, simply the fact that according to our proposal, according to how is it that it can be a regime change. We have told you the diplomatic relationship between the West and Iran, of why it is so important that we should actually communicate with each other and actually allowing them, because you see the fact that what happened to the diplomatic relationship between North Korea and the US being quite hostile because the West is pressuring a lot in North Korea. So what they're going to try to do is that we are going to have US engage more and actually express more interest in Iran, and eventually to build a healthy diplomatic relationship between these two parties, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, I can conclude that there are very little arguments given by the side of opposition due to the fact that they talk about feasibility, which I think that the arguments completely fall. They talk about the nuclear summit, we said about it's a hypocrisy of the whole ground of the UNSC. They've also told us about World War III. We have effectively told you how World War III cannot happen due to various reasons, and therefore we said that all arguments at the side government today stand. For that, end my speech. Thank you.
I going to debate to make the floor. For everyone's information, the results will be announced in this room.